Hello, everyone.
Welcome to the Queers of Time podcast.
I'm Matt.
I'm James.
I'm Kenny.
And I'm Kat.
And this is a podcast to talk about all the gay stuff in the Wheel of Time.
Because we're gay and we like the Wheel of Time.
Oof, it's going great.
Let's just redo that entire thing. Welcome to this Queers of Time episode where we're discussing Rings of Power Season 2, Episode 7. Again, didn't get the title of the episode, but it's the Fall of Eregion. It's where all the shit's happening to Eregion.
All shit's happening.
As always, thank you to our fellow venerators of Soirain, Lurks, Morshadi, Charlie, and John.
Yay.
Yay. So, what an episode.
My goodness.
That was a very good episode.
Yes, I agree.
Like, overall, I was very, it was lots happening. A lot happening. My notes are very long.
Yeah. There was a lot going on. It was very intense, which I feel like that's fitting. I feel it should be intense.
Yeah.
So the episode is actually called, because I don't check these things, is it actually called The Fall of Eregion?
No, it's not, probably. It's probably called...
Oh, it's Doomed to Die. That's what it is.
Doomed to Die.
There we go. And boy, was it fitting. Boy, was it fitting.
Yeah. No, lots of deaths happen in this episode. So let's start with... I guess we open off with Celebrimbor and Sauron, so let's start with them. Mm-hmm. Again, from the Wikipedia article, as Celebrimbor creates 9 rings of power for men, he notices signs that he is trapped in an illusion. He confronts Annatar, who ends the illusion and reveals that Celebrimbor has made the 9 rings using Sauron's blood rather than Mithril. Celebrimbor attempts to escape with the 9 rings and finds Galadriel, who takes them while Celebrimbor stays to delay Sauron.
Yeah.
I felt so bad for Celebrimbor as I have this entire season.
My God. And so, people who've been listening who we may or may not have dropped a couple of times that bad times are coming for Celebrimbor. And I know it felt like before there were bad times. These are the bad times we're talking about.
These are very bad.
These are very bad.
Everything was so peaceful for him. I felt so happy.
The beginning was it was first of all, beautiful shot. Beautiful, sort of, what is it called? Panoramic view.
Yes.
Of the lands surrounding Eregion and whatnot. And he just looked so happy and peaceful. And you can just tell, this is who he was. I guess this is who he was before he met Annatar, before the business with the ring started. He loves his city so much. And that's what makes it so heartbreaking. That's what makes this so devastating.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, Sauron's weavings and illusions were getting a little frayed a little bit. As he has to take care of all of Eregion and I assume, protect Celebrimbor's tower to make sure that's not hit at all.
I imagine so, yeah.
So the weavings are fraying a little bit. We see Feanor's hammer is missing a jewel. Celebrimbor sees a true reflection in the mirror. We see a mouse on repeat. I love that the illusion was finally shattered pretty much thanks to the mouse.
The mouse. I know, it was the mouse. Not Feanor's hammer. No. It was the mouse that did it.
It was the mouse and the time not passing at all.
Yeah. But it makes sense because Celebrimbor obviously is someone who is very detail oriented, because just out of necessity, because he makes all of these incredible works of art, basically, and it makes sense that it's the pattern of the mouse. The pattern is what really stuck out to him, and that's what really clicked for him. He's like, oh, something is, because he's been aware that something is not right. He's been aware that something's not right, and I think he even says later on, he could. He knew that something was not right, but he was so desperate for what was being offered that he chose to just ignore it. But he can't ignore this pattern, this repeating pattern that shouldn't be.
Yeah, no, it's really, really well done. I mean, I think you pointed it out really well. Like, Celebrimbor is a master at his craft and notices these things. So it makes sense that Celebrimbor would see through the illusion. However, he was not set up to succeed if he did see through that illusion.
Oh my god.
Sauron is such a master at lying, like,
oh my god,
telling everybody Celebrimbor's mind is gone.
It's so, like, I think I even said in the notes, like, it's so masterful the way that he's just arranged everything to, like, keep the people of Eregion not acting so that they're not fighting back until it's too late, essentially, and also believing that this is in Celebrimbor's wishes, and that also, by the way, Celebrimbor has lost his mind. So, you know.
And I feel so... He does escape, and I feel so bad for him because he goes to Myrdania, and Myrdania doesn't believe him, and then no one believes him because Sauron is great at illusions. And then we see Sauron force him to kind of, like, kill Myrdania.
It's just... This poor man. Honestly, Charles Edwards, someone give this man an award, because he was phenomenal in this episode.
He was so good.
Oh my god. Just devastating. It's just so good.
Yeah, no, I really loved it.
Yeah.
I did like the reveal that Sauron's blood was being used for the Mithril. We kind of called that last week. And then that quote, "You are he, are you not?"
Yeah. He can't even say the name. Yeah.
Which is a departure from the books a little bit. In the books,
It is.
it's not discovered that Sauron was Anatar and the Lord of the Rings and the master behind all of this until he actually forges the One Ring.
Right.
But I don't mind it. I think it makes sense that they would figure it out.
Yeah, I think it's more, especially for a television show, it's more dramatic this way.
Right.
And it fits. It makes a lot of sense, I think. I think if they had left it to after Sauron had, like, already fucked off and left and had the rings, I think it would have just been anticlimactic. This way, I think it gives, because it also gives a sense of tension to Sauron as well, because just as much as, like, we're, you know, like, is Celebrimbor going to figure out in time? He's not. He doesn't. But also, Sauron is on a clock. And you can tell he is, like, if he'd be tapping his feet and checking his watch, that's what he was doing this entire episode. Because he's also very much on a clock here. Like, time is pressing for him because he needs to get out of there. But it's oof.
And he says, "Finish the 9 and I will spare your city." And I'm like, well, that's a captivating argument.
Yeah, it's essentially, I think it was the one thing that, it was the only thing that he could have said to Celebrimbor to actually get him to complete the rings. Because, you know, Celebrimbor loves his city. And it's his devastation at seeing it in ruins was just, it's heartbreaking.
Oh,
it's heartbreaking.
He was heartbroken. He was so sad. And realizing just how far Sauron's manipulations had taken him, I think really fucked with him a lot.
Yeah. And it's because I think up until that point, I think he was under the impression that he was being fucked with. But like you said, he wasn't under the impression of how deep that fuckery went. Like, how...
The fuckery runneth deep.
Yes, exactly. Oh, boy. Poor Myrdania, girl. Oh my god.
I remember being like, oh shit. Oh shit, watching that scene. I was just like, oh, well, she's dead.
Well, oops.
Welp.
Oof. Poor girl. I had a feeling that she was going to have, like, as soon as we met her and she started forming a connection with Anatar/Sauron, I was like, she's going to meet a very unpleasant death. Just because, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not going to end well for her, but I wasn't necessarily expecting that.
No, I was not. Nothing could have prepared me for that. I was not expecting it either.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
We then get a little bit of, like, this interaction between Sauron and Celebrimbor, where Sauron is talking about how much it pains him to treat him blah, blah, blah. How Sauron tells Celebrimbor that it pains him so much to treat him like Morgoth treated him, which I like the line. The line is,
Yes.
you must know how it pains me treating you like Morgoth treated me. And then, do you know what it is to be tortured at the hands of a god? Like,
which is
those are compelling.
Yeah. It's rough.
Those are very compelling statements.
Very. Yeah.
I don't know. You never really think about how much Sauron has suffered, and I don't think that's necessarily what this is trying to get you to do, is see Sauron as like a victim in all of this, but it is meant to show that there are wow. It is meant to show that he is multidimensional.
Yes,
he contains multitudes.
Yes. Yeah. And also the gaslighting.
Oh, the gaslight gatekeep girl boss?
Still. Yes. Girl.
The victim blaming?
Oh, like looking... It's not enough that Celebrimbor is completely devastated. He's being made to work against his will. And Sauron is like, you know what? I am going to drive the dagger in a little bit deeper. I'm just going to twist the knife a little bit deeper and make it even more painful for you. You wanted this. You chose this. This is all your fault. What?
Yeah, that, I was kind of on his side. I was kind of like, you know what? Yeah, it must suck to be tortured by a god. And then you're like, Celebrimbor, you actually did this to yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
It's your own hubris and your own, like... And I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
What? I was like, okay, listen, I understand. You're Sauron, you're it's all that jazz. But come on, that's a little bit too far, don't you think?
Were you gonna say father of lies?
I was gonna say father of lies.
That's,
a little bit of
Wheel of Time
is seeping in.
Yeah. And then we get this great line from Charles Edwards, is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
From Celebrimbor saying, "You truly are the great deceiver. You can deceive even yourself."
Mm-hmm.
Which is a great line.
Great line. And I mean, it's absolutely true. He's excellent at deceiving everyone, I think especially himself, into believing. And I mean, there's a reason why he's able to. It's because, I mean, even now his plan is everything is kind of going according to plan. He's on a clock, but he's still fairly certain until the end of the episode that he is going to get what he wants.
Yeah, he's going to get what he wants no matter what.
Of course, yeah. But he's like, up until, there's going to be a moment where it's like, oh, the 9 have escaped his grasp.
Yeah, and I was actually like, so in the books he does have to kind of like hunt them down a little bit, if I recall correctly.
Right. I believe so.
So I'm glad that it seems like they're kind of doing that, but there is an entire episode left, so he might get the 9 rings back.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how they are removed or taken or lost from Galadriel's possession, because she is holding them at this point.
Right.
By the way, I was kind of convinced that she was an illusion. I thought that it was Sauron fucking with him again. And then as Celebrimbor goes back in the tower, it just like fades to Sauron. I was convinced that was going to happen.
I was too. I was like, how do we know this is actually Galadriel? Like, even with all of this speech, I still don't understand how it's actually Galadriel.
Yeah.
But Celebrimbor gave a good speech there too.
He did. Yes. Beautiful. It's very much, I'm sorry to, I'm always thinking about Lord of the Rings, the original movies, but it very much gave Helm's Deep vibes. This entire episode, very much Helm's Deep vibes, which is a big compliment.
Yeah, absolutely. For a second, I definitely thought Celebrimbor was going to die in this episode, but I think that'll happen in next episode.
Oh yeah. They're unfortunately going to drag that out. Unfortunately.
I did not enjoy him cutting off his thumb.
Nope.
I did not enjoy that at all. That was not it. I fast
forwarded right through that.
I had to look away from the TV, and then I was like, oh, he's just going to break his hand.
Nope.
And then no, he just slices his entire thumb off.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But that's how desperate he was to at least try and make things right and try and set things right, even though, I think he knew that this was just bad.
Shit's bad, yo.
Shit's bad, yo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When he does that, we hear this line like, whose will is mightier, which is the line that Sauron used when he was getting tortured by Morgoth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. A lot of good sort of tie-ins in this episode to the, just overall Tolkien lore. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was really good. And then we see Celebrimbor trying to stop Sauron. Sauron kills the guards because they're under his control as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we get a funny line that says, "Your hand will never touch another ring again." And I'm like, well,
I think. Oh, did we? I think we put. That's literally what I wrote. I put quoted, "Your hand will never touch another ring again." I was like, well, in all caps.
Yeah, I was just like, well, ...
Ooh,
not
very
quite.
much will. In the worst way.
It'll touch at least one more.
At least one more.
Maybe 9 more, depending on how the next episode goes. But
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, that's pretty much it for Celebrimbor. Like, Celebrimbor is... I think Celebrimbor is pretty much done for.
I mean, yeah.
I don't see how he could still go on.
Yeah, it's gonna be it. I'm looking forward to the next episode. It's gonna be acting wise, it's gonna be a great send off for the character of Celebrimbor. But I mean,
yeah,
Sauron is not going to let him, and we know, we know that he's not walking away from this. But even just realistically, logically, Sauron is not going to let him walk away from this without the information that he needs.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately.
Do we have anything else for Celebrimbor and Sauron?
Once again, I do want to shout out Charles Edwards is so good in this role. I have thoroughly enjoyed him since even because we met him at the end of season 1, I believe, in the last couple of episodes, maybe.
I can't remember where in season 1 we met him, but somewhere
in season 1. Since I remember his character being the first one where I was aside from the dwarves and Disa and everything like that, his character was the one I was I'm interested. I'm really glad that I like Celebrimbor because I want to like Celebrimbor so that his story it hits, right? And I have consistently enjoyed his character through season 1 and then of course in this season as well. And he's done a phenomenal job, I think.
Yeah, I think he's done a really, really good job. I'm trying to see when we were first introduced to him. I don't know if I'm going to find that very easily.
I can see the scene in my head, but I can't think of the episode number.
Yeah. Anyway. I don't have anything else on them. I'm excited to see where they go. I think Celebrimbor is going to die very early next episode.
Mm-hmm. I think so too.
All right. So next we have Adar, Elrond, and Galadriel.
Mm-hmm. Oh, James.
Lots happens here.
Oh, James.
So the orcs aim their trebuchets at the mountain beyond the city, causing a rock slide that blocks the river upstream and allows them to assault the city's walls on foot. Elrond, Gil-galad, and the forces of Lindon arrive to attack the orcs. That night, Galadriel escapes with the help of Arondir, who followed the orcs' trail. The pair sneak into Eregion. As the sun rises, a small number of elves face a new wave of orcs led by Adar. Elrond is disappointed when Durin IV does not arrive. Prince Durin.
Mm-hmm.
Adar stabs Arondir and takes Nenya from Elrond.
Yeah.
So, I will say my first note here was turning the siege weapons onto the mountain was a pretty smart move.
Mm-hmm.
That was good.
Adar has his shit together. He is very prepared. I think I said a couple of times, that is a very prepared man. He's thought of every, all kinds of different paths and whatnot. And he's like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And then things started to go kind of off the rails for him towards later on. But
yeah,
at the beginning, it's a good plan.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking about how things go off the rails for him because they really do. They really do. I will say, seeing so much cavalry from the elves, I was thinking it should be more than enough to take on the orcs who have no cavalry whatsoever.
That's what I thought too. That's exactly what I thought.
Maybe it was the scale that was off, but it looked like there was more than enough cavalry to take on all of those orcs on foot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously they had to stop because of Galadriel, which I completely forgot about.
Me too. Yeah, because when Adar was coming towards them and they had the sort of cage that was holding her covered, I was like, what's in that cage?
Me too. I was like, what?
I was like, who is that?
What?
Oh, yeah, it's Galadriel. I forgot she was there.
And then we have Elrond and Adar kind of at a table having a talk, and Adar gives a shout out to Melian of the Valar, which is Elrond's great-great-grandmother. And she's not of the Valar, she's of the Maiar, but she serves the Valar, so maybe that's what she meant. Or that's what Adar meant. But Melian is a Maiar, which is similar to what Sauron and Gandalf and the Balrog are. They're all Maiar.
They all fall into the same category, but different branches. Yeah. If that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say, like, during the entire scene, the tension wasn't really there for me when they were holding Galadriel captive, because we all know Galadriel survives.
Yes. It seemed... I was just like, okay, can we...
Let's fast forward through this, because Galadriel's not going to die.
Can we speed this along?
I think that's one of the pitfalls of shows like this, is we know Galadriel isn't going to die. We know Elrond isn't going to die.
Yeah.
There's a few people where we just know they're going to live.
Right. Yeah. So anytime they're in danger, it's just like... Oh, well, they're fine.
Yeah.
They'll be fine.
And then we get to the kiss, and the kiss happened, and I knew it was going to happen.
I wish that I had taken a picture. So I was downstairs in my living room watching the episode. My partner was walking by, and I was visibly upset, and told my partner that Elrond and Galadriel just kissed. I wish that I could have taken a picture of my partner's face at those words.
It was just awful. It got spoiled for me because everyone was talking about it after the episode aired, which is fine. Totally fine.
Sure.
And I'm like, okay, maybe there's a reason for it. And it turns out to be like a goodbye kiss / a kiss so Elrond can like give the lockpick thing to Galadriel, which is fine, but it was disturbing.
You know what? I don't care why. This is the thing.
They're treating them like spouses.
Yes, I get why they did it logistically. I understand why they did it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's the thing.
Yeah, that's very valid. The end.
At the end. I don't like it. I don't care why they did it. It's bad. It's weird. It's bad.
It's weird and it's bad.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah. It was just disturbing. That's your future mother-in-law, even though Celebrimbor isn't born yet.
Right.
Like, I get it, but... Ick. My ick vibes.
Ick. It gave, as the kids say, as the youth say, it gave me the ick.
Do the youth say that?
I don't know. I think I've heard young people say that.
Okay.
They gave them the ick. I don't know.
And then Elrond leaves, hopefully confident that that Galadriel is going to be able to escape. And I think the next thing we see is like a bit of a battle with them, and Elrond's horse dies.
Mm-hmm.
Like his throat was slit, and I felt so bad for that horse.
Far too many horses died in this episode for my liking. I was not a fan of it.
No horse girl was happy with this episode.
I was not happy with it. There was one horse. Listen, I accepted Wheel of Time doing it. That, they did it that one time, or maybe a couple times. But they weren't too, I just need it to be sparingly. It needs to be one every few episodes. If that. There were like 3 in this episode, 3 or 4. It was rough.
It was. There was a lot of horse killing in this episode. Damrod, I think, killed a horse as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad we finally got, skipping ahead a little bit, but I'm glad we finally got to see Damrod after he was there for all of like 3 seconds.
My God. It's just... Right?
They bring him out for like 3 seconds at the end of episode 2 or 3, and then he's not here until episode 7.
Until episode 7. Wild.
And he meets a very quick end.
Yeah, unfortunate.
So
poor Damrod. Unfortunate. What were we talking about? Elrond and Galadriel.
Elrond and Galadriel, the kiss, this happened. I will say, I did make a note here that it is a huge scale battle, and I appreciate how much work went into it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially with all of the orcs.
Oh yeah. Visually, it looked great. It was a really, really great battle scene, I thought. Yeah, like the tension, I think the tension was really there for it. And it felt like like they were very high stakes. Even though we knew, okay, Elrond is going to be fine, but still, like it was very intense. Yeah, very intense. It was really well done.
And then we have Glug. I think it's just Glug.
I think it's Glug, yeah.
Just because Glug sounds like a much better name.
I agree. So even if it's not Glug, that's what we're going to call him.
His name is Glug. Glug, who is Adar's like second in command. Adar seems to be really willing to sacrifice as many orcs as possible just to get the job done. And Glug says, "You told us you loved us." And I was like, that's so sad. Very sad. I had a moment with that.
Yeah. And Glug's look of just absolute betrayal when he chooses to call in the big fuck, the big guy.
Damrod.
Yeah. It was poof. I think that was the moment where I'm assuming something is going to shift for Adar in the next episode, and I think that Glug is going to be involved in that.
Yeah, I'm curious as to what's going to happen. I think it's going to be, because the very first opening to season 1 or to season 2 was all of the I can't get words correct. I'm still on these trugs. All of the orcs turning on Sauron. I think we're going to get all of the orcs turning on Adar in this at the end of episode 8.
Yeah, I agree. And it's, Adar doesn't even see, like he's fighting to try and defeat Sauron so that he can keep the orcs from falling into Sauron's hand. He doesn't see that this is still delivering the orcs into Sauron's hands.
Right.
Maybe in a more roundabout way, but that's what's gonna happen. So
yeah, I will say that the humanizing of the orcs is definitely working really well this season. Like, I genuinely feel bad for them losing so much, and Adar does seem to love them in his own way. He does say with what's left in his heart, or what's left of his heart. So he acknowledges that it's a broken love, or a fucked up love. Yeah,
that's the thing. It's the love is it's tainted. It's not not a whole love. Tainted love.
Tell me, please. I can't remember the rest of it.
Neither can I.
Anyway, Arondir shows up because Galadriel escapes and is getting cornered by some orcs because one of them notices her hair, which I thought was nice because her hair is very noticeable.
Yes, it's very... Listen, I'm quite surprised that more orcs didn't notice her, honestly, because, like you said, her hair is very noticeable.
It's
very
like
notable.
noticeable, very noted.
Exactly.
But I was just wondering where the fuck Arondir went, because Arondir was in the opening shot for this episode too, I think.
Was he?
Or in very close to the opening.
Yes,
and
that's right. Yeah.
He just sees Eregion and then he like goes away, and I'm like, where'd you go, bro?
I know. He keeps popping up and disappearing, my god.
And then we get to a shot where Elrond and his crew are trying to take down the siege weapon, the Ravager. And Rian, I think that's how you pronounce it. I think that's her name.
I think so, yeah.
Rian, the badass archer elf, gets stabbed a bunch of times, or not stabbed with arrows a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Like 6 or 7 arrows are from her body, and she still manages to take down the Ravager. And I'm like, what a badass. Like, what a way to go.
She was great. Yeah. If you're gonna go, that's the way to do it, right?
Speaking of archers, Arondir and Galadriel have arrived in Eregion at this time. Arondir is like pulling a Legolas here with all of his jumping and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Did you see that?
He is flipping, he is jumping, he is bouncing from pole to pole. It was impressive. It's like, he's so cool.
I was half expecting him to like slide down something like Legolas does.
Me too. Or someone to say, like, like some version of that still only counts as, like, that was what I was like almost bracing for it. And then when it didn't happen, I was pleasantly surprised because we don't need to do that.
Yeah. Dawn comes and Damrod is killed while it's still night. And then Dawn comes and Elrond is convinced that Prince Durin is going to show up.
Oof.
Rough. We'll talk about a little bit later why he doesn't show up. And Elrond is like devastated.
Yeah.
he just keeps repeating, Prince Durin will come, Prince Durin will come. And I'm like, dude, he's not going to come.
No. But Elrond has no context for this.
Yeah.
He has no idea. Because I think even in the time that he spoke to Prince Durin, I doubt that Prince Durin, or no, actually, did they have a catch-up time? Just off screen?
Yeah, they had a catch-up time.
Okay, so then maybe he is. But obviously after Elrond leaves, the situation declines dramatically.
Right.
And it's unfortunate. But it was sad. It was sad, actually. It was unfortunate. I was like, oh, buddy, he's not coming. He is not coming.
He's not coming, buddy.
No.
And he won't be coming around the mountain.
No, he will not be coming around the mountain at all.
At all. He'll be coming around the mountain. No, he won't.
What was I gonna say? It's the opposite of like so many kind of classic scenes like that where someone is you're waiting for reinforcements and the reinforcements show up at just the right time when you're expecting them, and this was very much the opposite of that.
And I like that because too often in Lord of the Rings, reinforcements arrive at just the right time and save them at just the right time. And I'm like, you know what? No. This time, no.
Nope, not this time.
Which only leaves it leaves us with like 30 elves trying to take on this entire army.
These elves had me stressed. I was like, I don't understand how this is not possible.
I'm still stressed about it because I don't know how the fuck this is going to go. I mean, I know that...
How?
I know Galadriel and Elrond survive, but I don't know anything else.
I mean, Gil-galad has to survive. Gil-galad is there too.
Yeah, Gil-galad isn't supposed to be there. He's not there in the books, but...
No, he's not. But he also has...
He has stuff to do.
He has other things to do.
Right.
So he has to survive too. So I'm like, how are we getting out of this situation in a believable manner?
Is everyone going to become a captive? I have a feeling that might happen. I don't know.
Maybe. Oh, you mean like a captive of the orcs?
I don't know how else they're going to get out of it. Unless the orcs just flee because Adar is driving them to do too much, and then the orcs just flee.
Maybe. Yeah.
Which would make sense.
That is what I was thinking. I was thinking that Glug somehow manages, because I'm sure Glug is not the only one feeling this way.
Right.
But, it kind of spreads and the orcs decide to abandon Adar. That would make sense considering what we've seen. I don't know how else, because are there any other forces that they could potentially be waiting for that could help in this situation? I don't think so. But
yeah. Eesh indeed. We do have those 30-ish elves fighting, and we see Arondir try and take down Adar, but Adar still has his elf-like reflexes and catches an arrow. So I don't know how I feel about Arondir potentially dying.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
He had barely anything to do. I shouldn't say that. He had some very beautiful scenes with the Ents. That scene with the Ent was great. But aside from that, there really wasn't anything for him to do this season. And it bothers me when that happens with the character. And then now we haven't seen the season finale, so we don't know. He could survive this. If he survives it, then I could potentially be fine with it. If he dies, I'm going to be very annoyed. Honestly.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's going to die, but he could very easily die. It could really go either way.
That's kind of my thinking. I think it's really 50-50 at this point. Who knows?
And then at the very end, we see Adar kind of going one-on-one with Elrond, which is what he promised would happen in the camp earlier, and he quotes Rumiel to him, which is the orc philosopher that Círdan brings up later, way earlier in the season, and says, "Do not make war in anger," or something like that. And then we see the final shot of the episode is Adar holding Nenya,
Yeah.
Which...
Okay.
I hope Galadriel just comes right out and, like, takes it from him.
Snatches it out of his hand. That better be what happens.
Snatches.
Yoink.
I can't... Yeah, because we don't... Adar is not a ring... Adar is a creation of the show, but I don't think Adar is a ring bearer.
No, there's no way.
Yeah, that would be weird.
That would be a shenanigan too far.
Too much tomfoolery and shenaniganisms.
Exactly. I couldn't take that. I'm assuming that something happens relatively soon after that removes those rings from his fist.
Yeah. But overall, I really enjoyed this arc as well. Like, I enjoyed Celebrimbor and Sauron because that feels like a culmination of the entire season. The Adar, Elrond, and Galadriel stuff feels like it was a very well contained within this episode. Do you have anything else about them?
Let's see. We don't need to talk about the kiss anymore. I got to that point in my notes and was like, no. Oh yeah, so I took note of the quote, the dwarves are coming, look to the north, and just like it's this lone rider, and I was like, oh, that's oof.
That's sad.
Sad. And then I put right after that, and so another grievance between elves and dwarves is added to the list.
Right.
Which, unfortunate. Now this is not, I could be misremembering. I don't think it's not canonical, but still, for the showverse canon, I guess, this is another reason that elves and dwarves have some beef with each other, going back years and years and years.
Yeah, and the messenger does say, like, Khazad-dûm's gate is shut or something like that, which, if that's true, when the gate is shut in the books, it won't be reopened again from the outside until the Fellowship of the Ring goes there.
Exactly.
So...
Yeah. So it's interesting. I'm interested to see what happens with the dwarves in the season finale. I'm interested to see, particularly what happens with the line of Durin. It's going to be interesting to see.
Well, speaking of the dwarves, we have that's the next little much smaller plot point in this episode. But Elrond comes to Khazad-dûm and asks Prince Durin to aid in Eregion. Prince Durin decides to help, but then decides not to when the King Durin attempts to mine more mithril, which could awaken the evil that lives beneath the mine. So my note here is that King Durin is being such a greedy bastard. And I'm honestly a little bit surprised that Disa and Prince Durin being down there at all was enough to hold him off for even a little bit. Truly.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I think means that there's a sliver of himself that is still there.
Right.
That is keeping him. But it seems obvious that sliver is gone, or at least most of it is gone by the end of this episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was surprised by that too, honestly, because like when we sort of see Disa and Prince Durin, it's literally just them. I was expecting they had a little bit more to their plan, that there was a little bit more happening.
Well, that's what I was saying in the last episode. I'm like, how much do you think they're actually going to be able to do?
Right?
But then Narvi shows up and is like, we stand with you. And I was like, did Narvi just make that decision? Because all of the other dwarves seemed ready to fight. Were they all like, LOL, it would be so funny if we just showed up all armed.
What if we just did this? What if we just showed up armed? Wouldn't it be cute? Wouldn't it be funny? I guess. But I did find that interesting. I do like, because it's been obvious that Narvi has been, he's aware something is very much not right with King Durin.
Right.
And that the ring is very bad for him. But he has been dutiful. And he's been obeying his king. But the kicker comes when, the messenger arrives saying that Eregion is under siege and is being attacked and they need help. And all King Durin cares about is mining and doing more digging. And that is where Narvi is like, oh, this is not the king I know. This is not it.
And then Elrond shows up and Prince Durin has I really wish they hadn't named him both Durin.
Me too.
I hate it.
Because every time I always have to be mindful, okay, am I talking about King Durin or Prince Durin?
Yeah, it's not... Anyway, Prince Durin says, "You title-haired, flowery-tongued flagpole." And that sounded like a slur.
It did. But a slur specific to Elrond. No one else, just Elrond.
"You title-haired, flowery-tongued flagpole." Like, did he just call him a faggot?
I think so. I think that's exactly what happened. That can't be the title of this episode.
No, it can't be the title of this episode. We'll find something else, but...
We'll find something. There's gotta be something else. That was very good, though.
Anyway, this is their first time that they're together this season, which is really interesting to me. Like, I assumed that they had been together earlier, but maybe not.
No. I think they've both mentioned each other.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. But this is the first time they're together physically in the same room. Which was very sweet. I thought I liked the relationship between Elrond and like their friendship. I liked the friendship and relationship between Elrond and Prince Durin.
Yes.
It's very sweet.
Yeah.
There was not enough Disa for my liking, but I understand. It's okay. We're getting into crunch time, so
yeah.
There's some characters that can't be featured, but yeah.
It'll be okay. I'm sure Disa will show up in the last episode.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
So Elrond fills in Prince Durin about like all of the stuff that's going on, which includes like Sauron being the creator of the rings, and then Prince Durin gives a speech, which I thought was a really nice speech to the people, the warriors of Khazad-dûm.
Yeah, it was so good. It was really good. I really liked the way they shot it, because at first you think he's just speaking to a small group of warriors, and it was like, oh, okay, this is nice. He's been able to rally some people, and then he turns and it pans out, and it's like all of Khazad-dûm chanting and saying that they will fight and they will go to protect and help defeat Sauron and everything. I was like, oh, this is really nice. I like this a lot. This is great.
Yeah. And I think it was during that scene specifically where we see King Durin going off with his axe to the Mithril mine.
Yes.
And then oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, it sounds like he could hear, I'm assuming he could hear Prince Durin's speech.
Yes.
That was the impression that I got anyway, that he could hear Prince Durin's speech. I mean, it just shows how far gone he is, because even hearing how passionately his son is speaking and like trying to convey how desperate the situation is for Eregion and how they need to help, he takes this as an opportunity because people are distracted, like not as Durin, his son isn't there. And so he doesn't have to go up against his son to get down and do some more digging. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. And then very, very at the end of the episode, well, not near the end, but near the end, but not the end, we see Narvi coming up with a big gash in his head, saying that King Durin turned his axe against people. So King Durin is out there with a ring of power, just slicing away at dwarves to get to more mithril.
Yep, he is slicing and dicing. And, I mean, we've seen clips of a Balrog before, right?
Yeah.
And so obviously we're going to get a glimpse of a Balrog in the next episode. And it's really going to bring full circle of, the dwarves delved too greedily and too deep and awoke something. So this is the something that's coming. You can kind of feel like every time they talk about digging deeper, every time King Durin talks about it, I'm like, oh boy, this is literally going to be the death of Khazad-dûm. Yeah. And you don't see it.
Yeah. It's going to be pretty gruesome, I think, what we see in episode 8 with the dwarves, because I think that's going to be a big highlight. And then the stuff with Galadriel and Sorry, there are kids outside screaming, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
I heard that. I was like, who is that?
Anyway, I think the dwarves are going to be a big part of episode 8, so I'm curious to see what we get of the Balrog, because if we get all of the Balrog, that'll be really, really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm really, really looking forward to it. This episode title was very fitting because it's the death of a lot of things. Not just the physical death, not just physical deaths. There was a lot of things that died. The dream of Eregion died. Khazad-dûm is on its way. It's on its way to a death.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
Yeah, I'm curious as to what's going to happen with the dwarves in episode 8 and with Eregion in episode 8. Well, Eregion's pretty much a foregone conclusion, but...
Yes.
Yeah. What was your highlight of this episode?
Oh, my highlight was Celebrimbor finally leaving his tower, finally leaving the forge, and seeing the destruction of Eregion, and just devastated. It was really good. It was difficult. It was heartbreaking, but it was great.
Yeah, I think for me it was the conversation between Sauron and Celebrimbor, where Celebrimbor discovers who he is.
Yeah, you are he.
Charles Vickers, you are he, are you not?
Yeah.
Charles Vickers, Oscar worthy, Emmy worthy, worthy, not Oscars.
Yeah, all around excellent.
And then the worst part of the episode was the kiss, and we all know that.
Yeah, it's
gagging.
I don't care the reason. The reason doesn't matter to me. That's it. Period.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
The end. But yeah, that was all we had for this episode. Do you have anything else?
No, I'm excited for the season finale. Have you looked to see how long the season finale is? Because I feel like it's gotta be long.
Let's find out.
Because I'm assuming we're also going to check in with Numenor?
Yeah.
Where are we getting the time for this?
I know how to type.
I believe in you.
Come on, show me. Watch now. Yes, pretend I want to watch it. Episode 8 is... Oh no, the same episode length as this one.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting.
And it's called Shadow and Flame.
Oh, I like that. Okay. So, the Balrog is going to be quite a feature in this episode then. For sure.
Oh yeah, and we're going to have Nori and Poppy and...
James, I completely forgot about them.
I did too.
Forgot. Oh my... How are they going to fit all of this in this episode?
I don't know. I'm scrolling through it and I'm like, I don't know how they're going to do this.
I mean, I guess if the battle is not, it ends rather quickly.
Yeah.
Then maybe it has to. I think it has to.
Yeah, they have to be done with the Battle of Eregion very, very quickly for this to work.
Exactly, because there are too many moving pieces. There are too many storylines that need to be wrapped up, and just I don't know.
Yeah. No, I have no idea. Do you want to do the outro? Because I don't trust myself with it.
Okay. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Queers of Time podcast. If you like our stuff, please follow us on social media. The easiest place to find us is on Discord. That's where we're the most active. We're also on Twitter, Blue Sky, Tumblr. That's kind of it. And also, if you like our content, please consider supporting us on Patreon. We really appreciate it. It helps us produce this podcast. And yeah, give us money, please.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all for listening. This was Queers of Time, a Wheel of Time podcast. The music is Dance of the Witches by Julius H.